When you go out there, and a lot of our teaching is, you honor. It's very spiritual. You almost like asking for permission or apologizing. If you're going to kill a deer, it's to feed your family. You know, we have different rituals, we have different teachings, you know, how to take care of that. When you go jigging for cod, before you set your line out there, you, in your mind, you apologize. I'm here to take only what I need. That's how important it was. It was almost sacred to our people.
Growing up as a young teen, this is where I learned. I would follow around the elders, follow around the uncles. We would just come out and watch, experience. I wouldn't be hunting, just there to watch, there to learn. And then as time went on, they ended up just handing out, you know, they give you a rifle and say go to the island and go play, right? Go get a deer. Don't come back till you got one. And that's kind of how we started.
We take people on random tours, people that don't have the means to get out on the water and visit some of the traditional places, and showing them ancient sites that our people used to frequent up and down the coast, and ancient petroglyphs and all sorts of ancient stuff, and yeah, just anything and everything. It's always something different every day. I just love being out on the water, in the bush, in the mountains.
Oh, you got everything. There's medicines all over. I know everything about like you got oysters and clams, you got crabs, you got rock cod, lingcod, salmon, almost everything. All the staples our people eat. It's all around this island. We're doing a lot of studying. We're surveying all of the territories. We're finding out what's here, what needs to be protected. We're mapping so everybody knows where the resources are. It's the most detailed way of knowing, right? If you're on the ground and you see it day by day, you can actually have a better understanding on how things are working, how things are going. The only way is to be out here, experience it.
We remember kelp here. Like, there was kelp right out from where I'm sitting, tons of it. And there was coho, bait. The herring could hide in it. The coho would hide in it. It would bring in, you know, there were abundance of whales. And then when the herring were fished out in 1986, in 48 hours, it's taken, you know, 30 years, 27 years to get a decent fishery back. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but we need to take on these programs like plant kelp. We need to bring back the eelgrass to our estuary. That's where the fry will hide when they come down the river. I think it'll start. We just need that little kickstart, you know, to maybe help it along, and, you know, do whatever we can to help. It's worth it. It's worth saving all this. You know, the kelp, right? Kelp was major. Kelp was major for us because the herring would lay eggs on the kelp. Kelp was used in steaming the clams. You know, and in old times, right? They would steam a ton of clams, then dry them out, store them dried. So now that the kelp's not around. It's tough to do that anymore. We hope to remedy that and bring the coho back with the kelp. Would be nice too.
The fish need water in September right into November. With the warmer temperatures we've been having, we don't get rain until mid-October. Our Chinook are already waiting around, ripe in and around the estuary to come in to spawn, and they're not making it in due to the predation we have with the sea lions. And then we do get all our water, we get it all after some of the fish had come up all at once, and then basically just decimating the survival rates in the river systems.
It feels good just knowing you can get stuff off the land and knowing what to grab, and if you're stuck somewhere you can go somewhere and get like a clam or an oyster or a berry or stinging nettles.
It's super nutritive. It's got every vitamin, mineral in it that you need to survive. They actually did a test where this guy went in the bush for 3 months and lived on nettle soup. We call it Susu. And he was perfectly healthy, lost a bit of weight, had a slight green tinge on his skin, but he was perfectly healthy. And that was the test. It has every nutrition, it even has protein, so it's a good survival food. You know, the clams, the oysters, the mussels, some places the barnacles are big enough to eat. The limpets, you know, that stick on there. The seaweeds, all the different seaweeds. We have plants on the foreshore, the sea asparagus, the sea plantain. You get the docks, like the curly docks growing down there. That's really good medicines.
It's not just salmon. In general, last year when we had that big heat wave, we had our best tides, our low mean tides of 1 feet to half a foot, and the heat was just too much for a lot of our shellfish and our oysters and cockles, where they basically just come up to the surface and they died off. You could see the actual shells washing up on the shores on the high winds after we had those heat waves, and that's going to affect us tremendously.
Woke over, it was horrible. You could smell the death. Everyone on the coast talked about it. You could smell and just see it. The whole top layer of the beach was gone. It was basically cooked. It was pretty awful. I'm worried the climate change will affect everything, right? Like it already has. You get the massive die-offs of clams, the oysters. The heat really affects the animals here because there's only so much natural spring water in the middle of the island. And once that dries up, they have nothing. We actually had people in our community coming over here to feed the deer, to bring over apples and to bring over whatever they could to keep them going, which is amazing. But yeah, I'm worried about that. They're going to lose their food source, which will eventually kill off the island, right? So that's my biggest fear.
Today we let go about 42,000 adipose clipped coho into our lake. We let our fish go here for reasons why is to increase survival rates in the overall population of that species with the different temperatures that we've been encountering. Now we're starting to see it on the news, so it's coming to light, where we have atmospheric river rains, and then we have all the flooding, which in turn actually floods and swells the river and diluting out the eggs into the ocean and diluting the survival of the fish that are coming up the stream in the salmon rearing beds. And then with all that, we get the hot summers like we had last year, that basically the water gets evaporated from our watersheds here, and the water goes dry in the creeks where we have overwintering coho here that have to make it out that spring, and they have no water to return to when they return in the fall. So we basically are kind of hand-tied with climate change. How do we deal with it? How do we adapt to it? How do we actually develop tools to strengthen our overall populations of fish with no water?